brainwash yourself
Yeah.
to believe in yourself.
Yeah. I know. I think they say it takes like 40 something or 50 something occurrences for a habit to form. So it's just like you say it over and over and over again, and then it becomes a habit,
That's right.
right?
That's right. Now, my mother is, I don't think she's on Instagram. I know she's on Facebook sometime,
Yeah.
but I wish she were, because the name of your enterprise is her slogan, always put together.
I love it. Yeah, I mean,
Always.
like I tell my friends when I looked it up and I saw it was still available, I'm like, how did no one grab this up? I was mind blown. So I grabbed it up since last year in December. I grabbed it up.
Well,
Yeah,
let me tell you something. First of all, not everybody is committed to always being put together. Now,
yeah,
our culture used to be one of high standards in every area, but sloppy has now crept its way into our culture,
talk about it.
and people don't always uh, want it to be put together. And
Yeah,
then there are people who want it to be put together but don't know how, and
yeah.
that's where you come in.
Well, it's all about the effort, right?
Right.
Like you said, your mom is on Facebook. I'm from the Caribbean originally, and always put together is like a slogan that all of my grandparents, my grandmoms, my mom, they always use, and they would always say, "Oh, always you're so always put together." So it was just like it was kind of like paying homage to my elders. Yeah,
All right. Now, wait, what part of the Caribbean are you from?
Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah,
Trinidad and Tobago. That's wonderful.
like you say, Trinity to the bone.
Wonderful. And how did this, I know where the slogan came from. It came from your background and your culture. But what about the enterprise itself? Talk about that.
So it's so funny. So I was on a trip with one of my girlfriends and she was asking me, she's like, okay, what's your next? What's your next, right? Because I'm in the corporate world. I have a job, I have a house, I have a car in the driveway. So it's like, sometimes you feel like you've reached the American dream. And this girlfriend, she was like, what's your next? And I'm like, oh my God, I have to start thinking about my next. So when I started thinking about my next, I thought about things that I was passionate about, things that excite me. And, I just one day I looked in my closet and I'm like, I have all of these earrings lined up. I cannot be the only one, right? I cannot be the only one that love to throw a pair of earrings on and, feel like you're put together. So that's where it came. It came from my love of jewelry, my love of fashion, my love of looking pretty. And I know that I'm not the only one that, pays emphasis to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was important to me to talk to you today because this is Black Friday. And
Yeah.
what we've done in our movement called D Free, we've
Yeah.
asked our people to call this In the Black Friday, which
Friday, I love
means that we're not just spending money and charging goods on our credit cards, but we're
yeah.
thinking about Black economics. We're thinking about our credit.
Yeah.
We're thinking about supporting Black businesses. And there's no reason in the world why
Yeah.
anyone who's trying to put it together should not know about your company and buy your products. So
Appreciate
there's
that.
something special about your products there, and it requires a special kind of care. Talk about some of those details.
So part of what I do is I do handmade and I curate pieces from my website. So
Right.
the handmade that I do, it's an extra set of love that goes into that. So the handmade, the material I use, it's called polymer clay. It takes from 2.5 hours to 3 hours to complete one pair. So it's like you have to buy the clay, you condition the clay, and then you roll it out, get it fast. So when you hear clay, you think of heavy, but for some reason, when you bake the pieces, it becomes so light. Yeah. So this it's just a special love because the ones that I make, it's handmade. There's no two are alike, and it's just that
Yeah, but
extra.
with all of this curating and all of this special love and all this time, it would seem that your product should cost a lot of money.
Right. So on one hand, because I make them in a batch, I'm able to bring the cost down for those.
Ah,
the curated pieces are a little more affordable because those are pieces that I find that I love that I'm unable to make, so I bring it to my store. But it goes around with my aesthetic because we're not just one thing, right? You're multifaceted. Sometimes, you wear studs to go to the gym, or if you're going to black tie, you want something extra sparkly, extra, like it. So like we're in a holiday season, so people are looking for more like blinged out, like, jewel tones because you feel like that's the holiday season. So it's twofold. So some of them are handmade, and those are, there you go, good catch. So those are
Good.
just made extra long.
In our program, we focus heavily on budgeting and saving and managing. Next year, we'll spend more time than we have in the last 15 years combined, helping people understand ways to increase their income. You have a job, and you have what some people might call it's a side hustle. I don't call it that because it's much more of a passion and much more of a calling. But on the street, we'd call it a side hustle. And there are certain steps you have to take before you can do that. Just talk about 2 or 3 things that you had to really resolve and put in place before you could really launch this enterprise.
I think for me, putting some money aside was important. So I had my finances in order to actually chase this dream. Planning, writing everything down. I think some people take for granted writing things down, but it really is one of the best ways to keep yourself accountable, right? And also like doing your research. Right? You don't want to jump into something and not have a full understanding of what you're doing. So you want to look at the competition. You want to see where their price points are. You also want to see what makes them special. So what's going to make you special? You also want to make sure that you're bringing, the best quality paper for your or packaging for your clients. So I think it's a combination of, doing your research, planning, and also, you have to have your finances in order as well. You don't want to run out of money midway through your project, and then you being in the red for say, right? So for me, that was my recipe. I know a lot of people work differently, but for me, that was my recipe.
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, it aligns with the content of a book. I wrote a book called D Free for Entrepreneurs. And
right.
Really, how do you take our generic and core D-free principles and apply it if you want to start a business? And all of what you said is in my book. The book's available on Amazon and
Okay.
the website. But listen, I have a question. I've been dying to ask someone like you, and I'm sure you know the answer. Your products are basically for women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're earrings. And well, I guess there's some men that wear earrings, but the market is women.
Yes.
But isn't it true that men should know about your site and your products so they can buy gifts for their wives, their daughters, their mothers, their girlfriends?
Yeah.
So do you market to men?
So I actually don't market to men, but that's a really good point that you just raised.
So you're going to start marketing to men?
I'm going to have to start to think about that.
Oh, I mean, because I get gifts from my mother, from my sister, from my wife, that are men, and I buy them gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have to ask other women, but it would seem to me that your business could double if men knew about it, and if men told men this is a great place to buy a great gift for Mother's Day, for anniversary, for Christmas, for Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
All
good
right.
point.
That's great. So what's the name? What's your URL? How do we get to your website?
Oh, so it's alwaysputtogether.com.
Wonderful.
And I'm always _put_ together is my IG handle.
Okay. Alwaysputtogether.com. And don't quit your job, right?
Don't. Not yet, at least. Not yet.
No, keep your 9 to 5. And then the sales that you make, you take that money to invest it back in your business and grow.
Back into the business. Yeah.
Wonderful. Listen, I am so impressed. Where are you geographically?
So I'm in New Jersey. I'm in West Orange, New Jersey.
Get out of here. I'm in New Jersey. I grew up in Montclair,
Oh, that's one tongue over. Yeah,
one
yeah.
town over. Well, listen, I hope to meet you live, but you know, we're not meeting many people live
I
anymore.
know. I
These
know.
days. It's all Zoom and IG and Facebook. But I'm
Yeah.
so proud to know you, and I'm hoping
Thanks for having me.
to follow you. I'm going to watch your marketing to men strategy. And I pray that all of the people who take information from me will take seriously the option of supporting Always Put Together during this In the Black holiday campaign, because no one's going to do more for us than we do for ourselves.